The last step today is going to be to now multiply binomials. Now, as you can see on the screen, there's something called the FOIL method. Some of you may or may not remember this. I'm going to have you watch a brief video first so we can discuss what it means.
When you get to distributive property on x plus 4 times x plus 3, it's time to put on your FOIL hat. It'll help you remember as a matter of fact. First, outer, inner, last, binomial times binomial. What's that? First, outer, inner, last, binomial times binomial. First, outer, inner, last, binomial times binomial. First, outer, inner, last, binomial times binomial. First comes multiplication, then the summation of all your similar terms. And watch out for those negative signs. Don't get burned. Don't get burned. Come on now. First, outer, inner, last, binomial times binomial. First, outer, inner, last, binomial times binomial. Your turn. Yeah.
Right, now that you've had the chance to take a look at some examples. So I've got here my first problem. The quantity a minus 8 times the quantity 5a squared plus 4. So what he was talking about, why we call it FOIL, is because f stands for first, so we take our two first terms and we multiply them together, which would be a times 5a squared. Then we take our outer terms, so our first and our last, which would be plus a times 4. Then we take our inner terms, which would be minus 8 times 5a squared. And then our last terms, which means, I apologize here. My computer's wanting to think on its own. Our last terms, which would be minus 8 times 4. So then we go ahead and multiply, and we have a times 5a squared. Let me go ahead and undo this duplication that it decided to do. A times 5a squared is 5a to the third. A times 4 is 4a. Minus, put the minus sign in there. 8 times 5a squared is 40a squared. And the minus sign. 8 times 4 is 32. So then we want to put this in standard form, which would then give us a final answer of 5a cubed minus 40a squared plus 4a minus 32. And because there's nothing more that I can combine, that is going to be my final answer. Now I want to show you a slightly different method. It's I call it the box method. It really is the same exact thing. The only difference is I lay it out a little bit differently, which for some of you who are very much a spatial thinker, this is going to be a little bit easier for you. So I have 13n minus 6. I'm going to write that along the top. And I have 2n minus 1. And I'm going to leave that minus with the 1 so I don't forget about it down the side. So I'm going to then create my box. And because I have two terms in each one, I'm going to make it a 2 by 2 box. Now I'm going to go ahead and multiply out. I'm going to take 13n times 2n, and those will intersect into that box. And 13 times 2 is 26. N times n is n squared. Then I'll take my minus 6 times 2n, which is minus 12n. And then my 13n times my minus 1, which is minus 13. n, and then minus 6 times minus 1, which is positive 6. So now I have all my terms that are going to go into the final answer. I just need to put them together in standard form. So I get 26n squared, and then I have a minus 12n and a minus 13n. If I add those together, I get minus 25n. And I'm combining it now for space purposes, and then I have a plus 6, which this is my final answer. Finally, we have a medical center. They have a parking lot that is 30 meters by 20 meters and wants to expand each side by 2y meters. What is the area in standard form of the new parking lot? So what that means is if we have this parking lot, right now it's 30 by 20. We want to expand, which means add on by 2y meters on each side. Which what ends up happening then now is we have two binomials. So I'm going to make my box, because I prefer the box method. So we have 30 plus 2y out across the top, and 20 plus 2y down the side. Make my box. And then I can go ahead and multiply 30 times 20. 3 times 2 is 6. And then I have 2 zeros. 2y times 20. 2 times 2 is 4 plus a 0 plus the y on there. 2y times 2y is 4y squared. And 30 times 2 is 60y. So now I can go ahead and combine these like terms, which I'm going to put them in standard form. So I have 4y squared plus 60y plus 40y plus 600. Well, 60y plus 40y is 100y, so my answer is 4y squared plus 100y plus 600 meters squared, because it is the area, and area is in meters squared. Your job now is to go ahead and give these two you try problems a shot and bring them with you to class tomorrow.